Good afternoon, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And I want to talk about the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States of America. And granted, I have not been an employee of the FBI. I don't hang out with FBI agents. However, I do know a little bit about it. And I know from what I've seen in the movies and music and the things that were left unsaid, and I want to go over a couple of things in this video. The overall prevailing attitude towards the FBI by the general public, based on what I've seen, is not favorable. I'll be honest. Based on the things that I have seen, and like I said, left unsaid, the things that were not said, such as in the X-Files, if you remember that show, is very popular and very entertaining. It was about, Fox, Mulder, and Dana Scully, FBI agents who defied the traditions of society, where they had a man and a woman who apparently had no romantic inclinations towards each other, except for in perhaps one or two episodes in the entire series, which is a little unrealistic, but whatever, it's beside the point. They were on a mission, a perennial mission, to explore and discover the occult, right? The supernatural and the mystical, and they were always on some adventure that was whimsical and magical, and you could expect to be entertained. And what I'm gathering from the premise of the show in general is that there is a much bigger and more real and dark and unpleasant aspect to the FBI, or else this show wouldn't have needed to be made as a sales pitch, if you will. And I think that's exactly what it was. I think that the X-Files was a sales pitch in favor of public relations towards the FBI. Not just by the general public, but in terms of recruitment, too, in terms of people wanting to work for them, because I believe they're having a staffing problem. That's what I think. Again, I have no evidence of this. So it's just a theory of mine. But I want to talk about some other things that I've seen in the movies. One exception to what I'm saying is Silence of the Lambs with Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. Great movie, very famous movie. Anthony Hopkins plays Hannibal Lecter. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you've seen it. Definitely worth your time if you want to watch it. And Jodie Foster is the FBI agent who is hunting him down. And I don't want to spoil the movie if you watch it. It's definitely worth your time, like I said. But in that movie, the FBI is painted favorably, like in the X-Files. And there is a lot left unsaid. Jodie Foster, I think, did a great job in that movie of representing an FBI agent. Granted, I don't have any real-world experience to compare it to. However, it seemed legitimate. It seemed realistic and believable. And I believe that they did a lot of research in making the movie to make it accurate and believable. So there are, other things that I've seen where the FBI is portrayed in movies and entertainment as intrusive and obnoxious. And the less you see of them, the better. Pretty much in every other movie I've seen, besides the ones I just mentioned, they are ornery, they are corrupt, they are tied to organized crime. And I want to talk a little bit about what actually happens right now in terms of investigation by law enforcement, whether or not it's by the FBI, but I'm sure they do it too. What I'm talking about here is how a decision is made prejudgmentally. A decision is made whereby investigators, including the FBI, remember, investigation is in their acronym, they don't go out and check it out. They don't necessarily go out and try to figure out what happened or who done it. They go out to build a case with a decision having already been made, which is entirely different. That's actually the opposite of investigation. That's an abuse of investigation. They go out and they collect information to prosecute people based on a decision that was made higher up by some representative or authority or elected official. And what they do is they go out with their credentials, they go out with their guns, they go out with their attitude, and they barge on in, and they say, we go wherever we like, we're the federal government, and they take notes, right? That's what they do. But like I said, the decision has already been made most of the time, based on what I've seen. The decision is made, they go out, they build a case, and then they take someone down. And that's not investigation, okay? So if you're talking about the ideology of it, the principle of investigation, it is very important. It's a hugely important part of due process and actual justice. As any law enforcement agent or employee, you are serving justice. You are on the taxpayer's nickel and presumably serving justice up until in which you are not serving justice. If you are executing a prejudgment that is not justice. If you are just building a case based on some decision that was handed to you, that's not investigation. You're abusing, you're misappropriating the funds, you are committing fraud, among other felonies, likely. And here's the problem. This has been going on for a really long time. Basically, since the repeal of prohibition, from my understanding. Again, I learn a lot of stuff from movies, but many of these books and movies are accurate. Many of them involve a great deal of research into the subject of investigation and organized crime, and they portray it pretty accurately. So, what I'm saying is, following the repeal of prohibition, when alcohol was forced to become legal again, that is, they voted it out, the American public voted alcohol to be unsupportable. It was a narcotic, basically, a classified substance that became completely illegal, but it could not be enforced. So they had to repeal prohibition, if you're not familiar. Long story short, at that point, the FBI, because they had been so deeply involved in investigating these cases of speakeasies and moonshine, refineries, illegal production and distribution of alcohol, they had a huge amount of ties and connections with organized crime that never went away. They became overrun by organized criminals. To this day, is my understanding. They are still run, by and large, by organized crime. And that's a huge problem. It's a huge problem, especially when they're involved in something where innocent people are, bamboozled into thinking they're helping them. They are bamboozled into letting them into their house, thinking that they're there to not just build a case, but to investigate and figure out, establish my innocence. Heck, protect me, right? That's what I'm paying for. No, here's the problem. Here's your problem right there. They show up as an enemy. They show up and they punish everybody, just like the vast majority of law enforcement will. Unfortunately, that's how it is. You call them, they come out and punish everybody, and that's their system. Don't call us, don't let there be a problem, and nobody gets punished. Keep your head down, follow the rules, and do not call us. That's our new justice. I don't like it. I don't think it's justice at all. It's anti-justice. But people are confused. They confuse opposites, and people exploit people's tendency to confuse opposites. So anyway, you can tell how I feel. I'm candid, and I'm going to keep on saying it because it affects me and my family. I don't need to go into too much detail. Just believe that it does. If you care about justice, if you care about your family, if you care about yourself, maybe you'll understand what I'm saying and take heed of it. Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.